The Miz, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, Samoa Joe, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Kevin Owens, Ali, Apollo Cruz, Chad Gable, Elias, Andrade, Buddy Murphy, Shelton Benjamin. These are the 16 competitors of the 2019 King of the Ring. That's right, folks, the fan favorite tournament has finally returned after a 4-year hiatus, and honestly, I could not be more thrilled. This year's tournament feels incredibly unpredictable, as there is a solid 4 or 5 superstars who have a legitimate shot at the crown. There's also the possibility for a giant upset as well, which just adds to that unpredictability. Before we begin though, let's remember 2 things. 1, at the time of the creation of this video, no official bracket has been released, and 2, this is just how I would book the King of the Ring tournament. You are encouraged to share your thoughts down in the comments below on how you would book King of the Ring as well. But before we get into anything else, I want to remind you guys to make sure you leave a like on this video and also making sure you are subscribed to the channel. Now, let's get right into this. Okay, so this is how our brackets will look. In the first round, we have Elias versus Ricochet, Buddy Murphy versus Samoa Joe, Cedric Alexander versus Shelton Benjamin, Drew McIntyre versus Ali, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin versus Apollo Cruz, Andrade versus The Miz, and Cesaro versus Chad Gable. Between Elias and Ricochet, the win has to go to the one and only. While Elias has been doing well recently, him being the 24/7 champion will actually cost him this match. He'll be distracted and not entirely focused on the match at hand with Ricochet. As a result, Ricochet will advance to the second round, and the loss for Elias will be mitigated by the fact that he was distracted and the fact that Ricochet is one of the favorites to win the entire tournament. So this matchup was created because of the Roman Reigns connection. Buddy Murphy has been a nice little addition to this story, and Samoa Joe has been a focal point since early on. So why not have these two square up against each other, cross paths, and face in the King of the Ring tournament? Joe can make Buddy look like a star in defeat, and it would also add to the support that Buddy Murphy has been getting. Samoa Joe would look like a badass as he advances to the second round. Now time for a match that I never even thought of until I was making these brackets. Cedric Alexander versus Shelton Benjamin would be an incredible matchup. Both Benjamin and Alexander are incredibly underrated in the ring, and they're both talented as hell. So a first round matchup between them has makings of a show stealer. Of course, in the end, Cedric Alexander would go over and would sort of get a passing of the torch moment, but he would advance to the second round and put on a clinic with Shelton Benjamin. Now for McIntyre versus Ali. What more can I say about this first round matchup? Ali, the lovable babyface, versus one of the more dominant heels on the main roster. One is a high flyer, while the other one will beat you down and cave your skull in. Perfect David versus Goliath match, but this time, David will unfortunately fall to Goliath. McIntyre picks up the win over a very game Ali. Now we have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. I personally love the idea of putting these two against each other in the first round. They have so much history, but we have yet to see a babyface Kevin Owens versus a heel Sami Zayn. I believe the dynamic of this match would be incredible, the promo from Zayn before the match would be perfect, and the crowd would just eat it up when Kevin Owens stuns his former best friend. A picture-perfect first round if you ask me, and it keeps the crowd strongly behind Kevin Owens. Of course, Kevin Owens wins and advances to the second round. Now it's time for the reintroduction of Baron Corbin. Yes, that's right, the big, bad, evil, bald, bad, bleh, bleh, oh my god, type of Baron Corbin. Yes, this is Baron Corbin, the same Baron Corbin we've seen for quite some time. But he is going to be taking on Apollo Cruz in the first round, and while Cruz will put up a solid fight, it will be Baron Corbin advancing to the second round after a fairly uneventful match. Now to go from an uneventful match to the rise of Andrade. He will take on Miz in the first round, and this will be a perfect way to get some huge heel heat on both Andrade and Zelina Vega. I would have Zelina Vega play an important role in this victory, maybe have her interfere multiple times in the match, but in the end have Andrade cheat in some sort of fashion to end up picking up the win over The Miz. And our final first round matchup will be Cesaro versus Chad Gable. Now, as much as I personally love Cesaro, there is something so unique about Chad Gable. He has always been viewed as a great technical wrestler, and he is much better on the mic than he's given credit for. So now would be the perfect time for him to put on an incredible show-stealer match with somebody like Cesaro and win. It would be the shock of the first round, and Cesaro would absolutely be okay if he gave the win over to Chad Gable. Perfectly fine, but this is time for Gable to shine. Now on to the second round, and we start things off with Samoa Joe versus Ricochet. Ever since losing his United States Championship to Ricochet, Joe has seemingly struggled to stay in any title picture whatsoever. He's also yet to get revenge on Ricochet for taking the championship away from him. That's the story of this match. Both will fight hard, but in the end, Joe's need to get revenge will cost him, and Ricochet will advance into the third round. However, after the match, Joe will do Joe things and attack Ricochet before leaving him behind in a bad state. And now we get the awesome Raw rematch between Cedric Alexander and Drew McIntyre. Their previous match was just so damn good that I just want to see it again. Personally, I think it was one of the better matches on Raw in quite some time. However, the result will remain the same, as McIntyre will go over in a very dominant fashion. Now over to the other side of the bracket, we have Kevin Owens versus Baron Corbin. Now this is one match where, once again, Kevin Owens will have the fans completely behind him because screw Baron Corbin, right? Nobody wants to hear Corbin call himself king. Nobody wants to see him wearing a crown on that bald head. Nobody wants to see him wielding that scepter coming on down to the ring. No, we are not having King Corbin. So, a Stone Cold Stunner or a Kevin Owens Stunner to Baron Corbin later, Kevin Owens is advancing to the semifinals. Now time for the underdog story to continue as Chad Gable takes on Andrade, and this is where the fairy tale story unfortunately ends for Gable. After a very solid match, we'll once again see Zelina Vega help Andrade win. She's going to cheat in some sort of fashion, as this is the character of Andrade that we're starting to see throughout this tournament. Willing to do absolutely anything to pick up a win, Andrade cheats and he beats Chad Gable. So now the final four of our brackets are Ricochet, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, and Andrade. Let's start with Ricochet versus Drew McIntyre. Thanks to Samoa Joe, Ricochet will come out selling the crap out of this attack. He will do his absolute best, but he is there with Drew freaking McIntyre. After a classic Drew beatdown, Ricochet will begin his babyface comeback, but just when everybody thinks Ricochet might have a slight chance to win this match, McIntyre hits the Claymore boot out of nowhere and advances to the finals. In the other semifinal match, we will see an absolute classic between Andrade and Kevin Owens. Andrade and Zelina Vega will try very hard to cheat again to win, but this time the referee will see Zelina Vega getting involved in the match. He will kick her out from ringside and the crowds will pop so hard because finally Andrade is on his own. After this, it will be smooth sailing for Kevin Owens, a stunner later, and the finals becomes Drew McIntyre versus Kevin Owens. Now, right before this match begins, we find out that Kevin Owens will have a few obstacles put in front of him. By who else? You guessed it, Shane McMahon. He will have Elias be the special guest enforcer, Shane will be the guest timekeeper, and Drew McIntyre will take advantage of all of these extra things. However, eventually Kevin Owens will take out both Shane and Elias at ringside, leaving it a one-on-one match between McIntyre and Owens. After some hard-hitting moves and some very near falls, Kevin Owens will hit the stunner, follow the path of Stone Cold, and become the king of the ring. Owens 316 says, "I just whipped your ass." But there you have it. Kevin Owens will become the king of the ring, new stars will be made, and finally KO will overcome that evil Shane McMahon for good. That's how I would book King of the Ring tournament. But I am very curious to hear how you guys would book it. Let me know down in the comments below. Also, while you're at it, you might as well just like this video, subscribe to this channel, and then come on over to twitter.com/conman167. I tweet a lot of cool stuff out there, and I also tweeted out the brackets for this video before this video even became a thing. So make sure you follow me over there if you want to stay up to date with all the latest stuff that I do. But thank you so much for watching. I've been Con, and I'll see you guys at King of the Ring.